All right, thanks, Rikin. Okay, and hi everyone, this is Chunlong.
This is Victoria.
Thanks everyone for joining this session. Today we're going to talk about Graph API again. So Victoria, and I think I remember last time you demoed a lot of how to use Graph API with a Postman, right?
Yeah, I think we can just follow the steps in the email to understand how to register the Azure AD app and use Graph API with different options. For example, Postman.
All right, so I remember that email. Let me just bring up that email there. There you go. So if I didn't get a chance to join your first session, then would that be totally fine for this session?
Yeah.
And okay, so we can just follow those details, steps, as they're very detailed, right? So and what if I just didn't join last time? Can I understand your today's session?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If you're even if you're new to Graph API, you can also understand our today's session.
All right, great. So what do we have for today's session?
We will share some demo codes about how to call Graph API in C# and PowerShell. Okay, so Chunlong, hand over to you.
All right, so thanks. So yeah, this is the email, and I think from the email we can already know that how to register an app and how to grant permission and how to use Postman to trigger Graph API. So now, in this session, today's session, I'll be the first one to present us a demo. Let's get started. So before we begin, let me show you what we have for the first demo. So in this GitHub link, number one, we have a web app here. Yes. So let me just open it. And we use actually this app to trigger some Graph API against our SharePoint. And typically, we're going to upload some files into SharePoint with Graph API. And what is interesting there is that you're going to find, even when we are using the same Graph API, but the behaviors there will be slightly different because we're going to use different access token. We're going to use different way to get access token. And by the way, all the source code today we're going to demo is attached in that GitHub link here. And this is number one, what we have, a web app. And number two, of course, we're going to have a Azure registered app, right? So we cannot use Graph API without an app like this. We have to register it and we have to give the permission. So actually, I don't have a lot of configuration here. Just two important thing to mention. Number one, let me just this is a brief overview. I don't have a lot of configuration here. So one, the authentication here. The important thing is that we're going to use the redirect URL. As you can see, I have a 3 redirect URL I configured here, and we're going to explain this later in our demo. And number two, of course, the permissions. Permissions, we have those permissions configured.
Hold on one second, please. I see you have two permissions here with the same name, site read write all. Could you please help clarify what's the real difference here? I actually got a question from Carol previously. She had the situation where customer has both permissions at the same time. Just wondering which one is the real one that is going to take effect and why.
All right, thanks, Victoria, and great question. And that's kind of confusion, right? And here we have two permissions and with the same name, and the only difference here we can see is a type, right? One is delegated, another one is application. Well, that's actually exactly what we're going to demo today. So I will also explain this during our demo, okay? So let's just jump into our application directly. This is a landing page and showing the purpose of our demo site and trying to demonstrate how Graph API works with different access token. And get started. Yeah, landing page, and click on get started. There you go. So in this page, actually we have two buttons and trying to use the same Graph API, upload a file. And let's have a try. By the way, this Graph API we're going to use and how we compose the API, what we're seeing, that's the same Graph API here. We're going to open that one. This is API documentation. And this is how we compose the Graph API, right? And actually, here I got a question for you, Victoria. And I understand you've been dealing with a lot of Graph API cases. So during that period, which tool you'd prefer the most dealing with the Graph API? And is it Graph Explorer or Postman? Which one is your favorite?
For me, if it is just for testing how the API works, I would prefer to use Graph Explorer because that is easy to use. Mm-hmm. If I need to test the app-only scenarios, I would choose Postman. And how about you?
All right, so, well, for me, I love them both, but I prefer Postman a little bit more. Because, you know, Graph Explorer doesn't have the option to upload a file, right? Because actually, Graph Explorer doesn't have, for example, this API. It doesn't provide, Graph Explorer doesn't provide the option for us to, write the binary files here in the request body. Mm-hmm. But Postman can do that. Excuse me. And as you mentioned before, that Postman support the app-only scenario, but the Explorer only has the user token, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's navigate back. This is the API, by the way, we're going to use now. So let's just press the button 1 for a try. And we can see actually the browser redirect to this is very familiar, right? login.microsoftonline.com, and this is our Asia identity platform. So it requires us to sign in. So I'm going to choose one of the test account here. And of course, actually, it should prompt me up with the password input dialog, all right? But actually, I've done that before, so I don't need the password. I already signed in. But now you require that user to do a user consent, right? We mentioned this before. This is a user consent. The application will say, hey, we're going to use your basic profile. We're going to access it, and we're going to edit and delete items inside collections, and we're going to maintain access, and this is actually the refresh token. Which means we're going to access those resources infinitively. So as long as you consent this one, we're going to access them and those resources on behalf of you. Are you okay to accept? So if I click cancel, of course, it cannot move forward. So I have to accept, yes, I grant, I do the user consent, I grant those permissions to this application. So now, as you can see, it redirects us back to this page, and here we have a warning message. It says, hey, now you have the authorization code, which means I am signed in. And please click on the button 1 and get access token and upload a file. You select it. Of course, I'm gonna select one. But here, one thing I just want to mention that we can notice from the URL, we have something more from the URL. It's a parameter code equal to some very long string there. But I just want to say this is actually a authorization code. So we're going to see that later. So we're going to select a file here. For example, I love this one. All right, so I'm going to upload that one. I click on this button again, It's uploading. Okay, successfully uploaded, and we can check the result there. All right, so we're going to navigate to this site collection. This is a SharePoint site, and go there. Wow, oops, but I think that'll be fine. I'm going to sign in. I use this one as well. Actually, I can use another one. I can use my Microsoft account as an external user. So, all right, this is the library, and where's the file? I just uploaded. Actually, it's inside the folder B here. A minute ago, yeah, there you go. I think that will be this one. That will be this one, right? EOS viewer. That's what I just uploaded. So let's navigate back to this page again. We're going to try the button number 2, okay? So button number 2, choose a file to upload. Choose a file to upload. Which one? Which one we're gonna how about okay, a certificate. And click on button 2. Uploading. Well, it has been done. All right, so let's navigate to our SharePoint site and check again. We're going to do a refresh. Where is it? Oh, there you go. So now we can see we have this file, right?
Yeah, I'm seeing different values there for created by and modified by for these 2 uploaded files. Are you modifying those values in your code?
Oh, well, yes. Well, a good question, and Victoria. So yeah, here we can see this one I just uploaded using button 1. The created by and modified by is the user is signed in, right? Mm-hmm. But the one I just uploaded using button number 2 is just a SharePoint app. So yeah, cool. I think that's a question you just have, right? And actually, behind these 2 buttons, let me just navigate back. Well, actually, behind these 2 buttons, they're trying to use the exact same Graph API to upload files, and the only difference is they're using different flow to get access token. So let's just scroll down. The only difference is that they are using different floor to get an access token. So number 1 is authorization code floor, and number 2 is client credential floor. And when we use authorization code to get an access token, then use that access token to call the Graph API, SharePoint will treat that request as a user on behalf of the user. And the same for the client credential floor. If we use the client credential and get the access token, call the Graph API, and SharePoint will treat it as a app, right? And here actually we can take a look. And actually, it's kind of very popular. The recently the authorization code floor. We can see anywhere on WeChat. We use it every day, right? And Facebook, Twitter, like that. So and we can actually here can I just zoom in so we can see how it actually works. There you go. Okay, actually, as we can see here, authorization code floor provides permissions for your application, manipulate documents and resources on behalf of a user, and this is very important. If we take a look at the picture here, actually, the floor goes like a pump up is the first time we access that resource, it pumps up a browser dialog, but it hasn't to be a pump up. It could be redirect, right? The one we just showed is redirect, and it requires user sign in and the Azure identity a platform, sign the user in and say, hey, this is a user that qualified, that valid, and I'm going to return you a authorization code. That's the reason why we see that in the browser we have some parameter in the URL address bar, right? The code here is the authorization code. So with the authorization code, the application, so this application, this demo, understand, oh, that user has been signed in, it's valid. So we can use the authorization code. Again, go to Asia Identity Platform endpoint, again, a token endpoint actually, to get the access token. So we have the access token. I called it a user token. We have, because it has the user context. So we use the access token on behalf of the user to access the resources. And the client credential floor will be much more easier. And you just use the client ID, client secret, and client ID just like your username. Secret is just the password, right? So it represents a app. So that's the reason why the SharePoint just treat those requests with such kind of access token as a app. All right, so those are the two different floors.
Then how can we tell what kind of access tokens we are currently using?
All right, well, so number one, if you're required to sign in and do a user consent, and then that will probably be a user access token. And number two, we can directly decode the access token, right, to see the identity type in the access token, and speaking of how can we get the access token? Well, Fiddler, right? We can use Fiddler, but in some scenario in production environment, usually Fiddler is not an option. For example, this website, because this website is hosted on Asia, right? So the real traffic actually is from the Asia backend app service to our graph endpoint and then to our SharePoint. So we're not able to capture the Fiddler. So in that case, we have to, number one, ask the dev team to, write down some logs, for example. Yeah, right. So just write down some logs and write down some logs. For example, here, actually, I write those logs into, there you go. Let me just zoom in a little bit. There you go. For example, here, write down some logs. Yeah, access token has been successfully retrieved, something like that. So, those are the methods that we can understand the access token. And speaking of the source code, why don't we just try to debug our current demo site and walk you through the entire process of how we deal with different access token in code level, right? Oh, by the way, Victoria, did I answer your question that you mentioned you raised the first time? For example, right? Let me just navigate to, right, there we have two different permission here, but with the same name, but one is delegated, another one is application. So that actually are for different kind of access token, right? Yeah. One is for user on behalf of the user, and another one is a application. Just use the client ID suite.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of auth token you're using. So we are using different permissions.
Exactly.
Yes.
All right, cool. So now let's just navigate back to have a to debug our, to walk you through the entire process in the code level. Okay, so here I let me just I'm using Visual Studio 2019, by the way, and I'm going to start the instance here. It'll be the same as we just saw in the Visual App site. There you go. So yeah, I navigate to this part directly, and let's just now click on, and as you can see now, it's actually my local host is hosting this website, right? So I'm going to click on button 1. I think, yeah, breakpoint has been hit. So here, I'm not sure if I can make this zoom in. There you go. All right, so here, click on button 1, and I'm going to check the authorization code. Of course, now it's just nothing. And I send 302 redirection to the browser directly, and using this URL, and if you can see, that's pointing to the Asia, right? Asia Identity Platform. Okay, so it's not, perhaps I can actually just give us a better view here. Hold on one second. Let me just give us a better view here. So we're going to, kind of slow here. It should be URL yes, I have it. Okay, there you go. I'll just copy that URL. I gave a redirection there, right? So let's just copy the URL here. I think you already have that, right? So that's the parameter here. If you see that URL, and this one is my tenant ID, right? And we have query string here, and we have a different parameter here. So the first one, response type, code. Code means authorization code. So we're going to use authorization code to do the authorization. And the second one is query. Query means how response mode means, hey, after the user sign in, the Asia Identity Platform, which is the MicrosoftOnline.com, right? Well, and redirect back to our application, and the authorization code will be there on the query string, which is in the URL, right? So this is a scope. Scope means actually different permissions, right? And OpenID, actually, that's something for OpenID collection and profile, reader profile, and read and write side, right? Offline access refresh token. And by the way, the OpenID is that you can get the ID token, so you can use your ID token to access your claims. And this is actually something for OpenID connection. And okay, in state, you can give a random number here, and prompt, and this is a constant. That's where we can see we need to do a user consent there, right?
Is this parameter required?
Not exactly. So this is actually optional, but for demo purpose, I just set this parameter. So if we don't have to use this parameter. It's not mandatory, and if we don't use that, so the user consent will only happens on the first time when the user is in, right?
Okay.
Okay. So code challenge, and this is just for security reason. And redirect URL. This is kind of important, right? So the redirect URL. What do I have here in our code? Redirect URL. Redirect URL. Redirect URL. Redirect URL. URL. So now it's actually pointing to my local host, right? So because here I change my web config. If you remember in the Asia configuration, I have a 3 redirect URL, and this is one of them. So the reason why I'm using the local one is that I'm doing the demo now, right? I'm debugging here. So the browser, when the user sign in, the authorization code can be sent to here, this redirect URL, and not that one in our production, right? The Azure one. So that's the reason why we have the URL, because now I pass this URL in this URL to the identity platform. All right, so so that's it. So let me just press F10. So we're going to there you go. So if I press F10, then that line has been executed. I'm redirecting to here, right? I'm going to sign in and constant again because I have that parameter. All right, so and I believe it's redirecting back and with a authorization code here in the query string, right? And I just changed the warning message here. So let's just execute. There you go. We have that warning message here. And because we have the authorization code in the query string, right, it redirects back with the code here. So if we click on button 1 again, we're going to choose one of the tools. Okay, hit again. So now this time we have the authorization code. We don't need to sign in. And so, yeah, it's going down. Now it's actually composing the Graph API, right? Now composing the Graph API, as you can see here, the endpoint here is our Azure Identity and Token endpoint. So which means we're going to get the access token using the authorization code we just got, right? Okay, and there you go. Execute. I believe we have it. Yeah, successfully executed. There you go. I think we have it. Right. If we check here, so we should have the access token. Access token actually is inside here. All right. So once the access token, now yes, now we have the access token. There you go. We have the access token now. Right. There you go. Yes. Oh. Then we are going to pose another Graph API to use that access token and trigger the Graph API to upload. Right, it has been done. Right. So, and by the way, I just want to mention the code here. The code here, how to compose the REST API. Actually, I didn't manually code them. I just used the Postman. We have the Postman, right? So the Postman, where is the upload a file, right? Upload a file, some kind of this one. So upload a file, and actually I click on here. It has a feature, very convenient. It can automatically generate the code I'm going to use. And actually here you can see this is a PowerShell. And the one I'm using is this one, right? Rest Shop. I can just copy here. And it also has Python and JavaScript, or any popular code that you can find here. So very convenient here. And yeah, that's actually for the button 1, and I don't think we are gonna go through the button 2 because it's some kind of a similar, but it's going to use the client credentials, right? And let me see. I think that's pretty much of my part of this session. And Victoria, I think you have some partial demos, right?
Yeah.
Now is yours.
Okay, let me share my screen first.
Okay. I'm I'm going to stop sharing, okay?
We should extend it. Okay, let me share screen. I should share this one. I need to extend. Okay, let me. Which screen are you seeing?
This one.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Okay, let me start. So now I'm going to share some PowerShell code demos for calling Graph API. The first one is I'm trying to demonstrate the delegate demos. The option one, we can choose to use the it's hard to control.
So it'll be slow here, right?
Yeah. Okay. So for this demo here, we are just trying to send the request to Azure platform for getting the auth code and then get the access token. So here we have some parameters that we need to collect first. The first one is the tenant ID, and then we need to set the client ID for your registered app in Azure AD and the client secret and also the scope. Here I use this graph.microsoft.com/.default. This will help get all the granted permissions to in that app.
Mm-hmm.
And then the redirect URI. Here in my demo, actually, you can use any URL as the redirect URI, but you need to make sure that this URI is already being registered in your Azure AD app. Mm-hmm. So the next part is for constructing the URL, and I use the web browser class to send the request. And here, this part is for getting using the auth code to get the access token, and then I use the access token to to call the Graph API to download a file. Now I'm trying to demonstrate to test it.
All right.
Actually, it will show you a prompt.
Oh, there you go. So that's the web browser control in your PowerShell, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm signing with this account. And I also use the prompt parameters. So here I will need to consent.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's actually trying to download, and the file is already being downloaded. I download the file to my local machine here in this folder. Yeah, you see the PDF file is being downloaded here. So if you have such scenarios to test, you can just copy the code and test at your side. Make sure you modify the parameters to yours. Okay, so let's see the option 2 that we can work with the delegate demo. That one is for using the Graph SDK. I remember the last time we have already shared how we can use the Graph SDK in PowerShell.
Yep.
So the first line is for connecting to the graph context using the auth code flow, and the second one is actually for using the device code auth flow. So let me just demo it now. Okay. Before using the Graph SDK, please make sure you have installed it. Okay, so because I already did that before, so it has detected that a token is already there, so it just passed this authentication directly.
So it has a cache, right?
Yeah, it has a cache. And okay, so
by the way, do we need to register a new app for the SDK?
No, actually the app is already registered automatically for each tenant, and the name is, let me show you. Sorry. Okay. The name is Microsoft Graph PowerShell. So here. Yeah, this one.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't need to register the app again because it use this app for doing the authentication. Okay, now let's go with the application only demos. The option one, we can just using this one, this code. Where is my mouse? Okay, I found it. Okay, this code demo is for using the client secret to do the authentication, and we need to connect some parameter for that tenant ID, the client ID, and also the client secret. And here I'm constructing the headers and the body for sending the request to get the token. And this part is for sending the request to get the token. And this part is for calling the Graph API to create a new folder. Okay, I'm trying to test it. I think it's already been done, and let's check here. I need to I need to refresh it. Yeah, you see the new folder here?
All right.
Yep. Okay, so let's go with the next demo.
So if I want to reuse your code, I can just copy your entire code and modify those variables to match my registered app. Right?
Yes, and you please also make sure that you change the graph endpoint as well.
Okay, you mean the tenant ID?
Here the site ID. Okay. You need to change to your site ID and for creating the new folder.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with the next demo. This one is for using the MSAL module to get the token, and we need to install the MSAL module first for PowerShell. And let me show you the command.
Yeah, I understand it's getting popular recently, right? MSAL.
Yes. So so to use MSL, you need to run the what is it? Yeah, you need to run this install module, msl.ps module first, and then you can just copy the code to do the test. So inside the MSL module, we have the command get dash MSL token. This is for just getting the token. And inside the command, we need to set the parameter client ID, client secret, and the tenant ID, and the scope, and also the authority. This is because by default, the MSL will use the common endpoint for getting the token. So if you specify the authority to be your tenant, then you will just use your tenant to send the post request to get the token.
I see. So basically, common means multi-tenant, right?
Yes. Okay. That is for a multi-tenant scenarios. For example, you have an account. That account has permission to access different tenants. Then you can just use common for doing the authentication. Okay, now let's. This demo is for just getting the details for an item. So let me just test and show you. Yeah, you see the items details has been returned back here in the response.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's go to the next demo. Okay, the next one is also using the client certificate for doing the authentication. So you need to make sure that you have create the certificate and upload the certificate to your app, registered app in AR80, and also make sure you export the PFX file here because we need to set it in our parameter for doing authentication.
All right. So does it have to be PFX?
Yes. If you don't use PFX for doing the authentication in the code, it will fail. It will detect if this is a PFX file or not. So if it is not, then it just stop there.
Okay. So if I use a CER certificate, then I'll be getting an error, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But you need to make sure the .cer file needs to be uploaded to your app first. Okay. Here.
There you go.
Yes, this is the certificate. This is my certificate. Okay, let's test the demo. So I'm going to, this demo is just for getting the information of an item from SharePoint. So let's check. Yeah, you see the items details have been returned back here in the response. Okay, now let's see how we can do it in the using the Graph SDK. So to use the certificate in Graph SDK, we can use the certificate name, subject, or the thumbprint for connecting to the graph context. Both are fine. Okay. Okay, so this all the parts that for today's session.
All right, cool. So yeah, let's just, how about, do we have any questions? Thanks, Victoria. And actually, I can understand it well.
Yeah. Do we have any questions?
Yeah. Do we have any questions? Now I think it's Q&A. Do we have any questions? So if we don't have any questions, then I will take this as no questions. So I think that's our quiz league time. Okay. So we're going to. All right. I think it's time for. Thank you everyone for joining this session. And now it's quiz league time. Okay. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chunlong and Victoria.
Thanks.
Fantastic 相声。